With warm greetings, I extend my warmest welcome to the talk show Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the talk show organized by Samurja Educational Society on the theme Education 4.0 for Safe, Sustainable Societies. We appreciate and applaud everyone, our panelists and participants, for the zeal to share and passion to learn with Samurja. Samurja means the sum of creative energies. Here is a small video about Samurja.
Samurja Educational Society, established in the year 1991, has completed its gratifying journey of 3 decades. The society was conceptualized with the objective of educating children and preparing them to be morally upright and vocationally independent. Ever since its inception, the society has continued to take tiny steps forward, redesigning the educational fabric in all possible ways through various educational activities, besides conducting social outreach programs like the Girl Next Door and the Charity War. Samurja is constantly striving to bring together some of the most ignited minds in the field of education to introduce change in the educational fabric of the nation by providing educational vision, empowering educators, inspiring learners, and elevating various organizations through training sessions, panel discussions, talk shows, conferences, and symposiums. The society has also conceptualized and published periodicals and magazines for students and teachers. Samurja continues to explore new domains, trends, and landscapes to enrich the educators across the country by equipping them to resolve the academic challenges in their classroom to make teaching and learning more joyous and engaging. It also helps educators realize their vision and collaborate with national and international educators to have sustainable societies and a happy nation, thus redefining the paradigms of Indian education. Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Everybody wants to be happy in life, and happiness depends on the quality of our thoughts. Aristotle said, happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and the end of human existence. He was a great Greek philosopher and polymath. Aristotle is also known as the father of biology. Well, we do not have any evidence other than the information available on cloud. As per the information from the internet, Aristotle explored biology as he realized that biology helps us understand the living world and the way many species, including human beings, function, why and how different species evolve and interact. The study of bio, that is life, also facilitates us within an in-depth understanding of the natural world. It also helps us to learn how to conduct research, solve problems, organize, and think critically. Today, we observe the advancement in medicines, agriculture, biotechnology, biochemistry, bioinformatics, biostatistics, and many other areas of biology which have brought improvement in the quality of our lives. Also, there are countless articles and opinions about the unprecedented outburst of corona as the declaration of bio-war. We will reserve our comments on it, but for sure, as an educator, it is my responsibility to understand the nuances of this most unsought pandemic, COVID. And as a biology teacher, we owe the responsibility to prepare our students as a researcher, problem solvers, critical thinker, besides knowing the morphology, physiology, anatomy, taxonomy, and genetics. NEP 2020, which is a visionary document, has reserved a lot for us to be explored. To understand different domains of biology and to tweak various parameters of the subject, we have with us the veteran biologist and leader, explorer, highly modest and unparalleled example of simplicity, Mrs. Neeta Rastogi, former principal of Sadhu Vaswani International School for Girls. We welcome you, ma'am. Ma'am, please extend the verbal greeting. Neeta ma'am, please switch on the camera and extend the verbal greeting. I think there is some connectivity issue. Let me just. Neeta ma'am, you need to unmute yourself and switch on the camera, please.
Sorry, there was some connectivity problem last moment.
Raining heavily, and even I have the connectivity problem as I shared. So welcome, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Mukta.
I request Monica ma'am to please welcome ma'am with a musical note and introduce her. Once again, welcome, ma'am. We also have with us our mentor and the trailblazer of this talk show, Dr. Rajesh Asija, Director, Indraprastha Group of Schools. Dr. Asija, we welcome you here.
Thank you, Dr. Mukta, and looking forward to hear Dr. Neeta Rastogi, though I hardly know anything bio, but I know she's the inspiration for all bio teachers. Looking forward to you, Neeta Rastogi, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words.
We would like to mention the names of our mentor, Dr. Ashok Pandey, Director, Elcon Group of Schools, and Professor Harish Chaudhary, IIT Delhi. Because of the commitment, they are not here with us, but their blessings and inspirations, they are always, always with us. So, Neeta ma'am, as per NEP, CBSE has brought many changes, the competency-based learning, the case studies, and so many other things. So without wasting much of the time, I'll request you to straight away, please enlighten our teachers about the concepts, how they can be taught easily, swiftly, the pedagogical structure and the assessment. Over to Neeta ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. Is it visible to everyone
Yes,
now?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Right. So before I start the presentation, I must thank Dr. Mukta Mishra, of course, Dr. Rajesh Hasija. You have really created a platform which is so useful to the teacher community. I have known about this platform only a few days back, but I find it very interesting. And I'm sure I'll be a permanent member of your society.
This
And,
is our privilege, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And of course, the concept which you have taken is also really very important because when I speak to people, senior people, I feel that still the concept related to competency-based education, which is for which CBSE has already sent circulars also to implement it, is not fully understood. And of course, the urban areas are fine, but the rural and the distant areas, there's still a lot needs to be learned. So thank you for giving me this opportunity in Samurja, and I'm grateful, ma'am. I start with my presentation.
Yes.
So today we talk on education for safe and sustainable society. So when we talk of education for, let's understand why we talk of education for. Education for will be able to align our children with the changing world, the fourth industrial revolution, which has already emerged, it has started, and in future, when our children grow and they are part of the fourth industrial revolution, they should not feel that they don't possess those skills. They are not up to mark to face the challenges of the changing world. And so we have a great responsibility to prepare our students for the jobs that are not yet created. And so we need to provide education with global impact, with having a global education component, and teach them the skills to face the unknown challenges which they may face in future. They may not face, that would be good. They'll be prepared. But in case like what we have seen in last 2 years, it was unexpected challenge which we had to face. And of course, the biological societies are working hard to find a solution to it. But that's probably they had the skills, you know. So we need to prepare ourselves for the changing world, the changing scenarios, and maybe such challenges which may have difficult solutions. But let our children face it boldly. That should be our preparation. So schools need to recognize learners' capacity to construct knowledge, and as natural learner, we all know what Swami Vivekananda had said, that education is manifestation of perfection, which is already there in all of us. So we are natural learners. Many educationists have said that more training, more you make children deprive of that natural capacity they have. So we have to provide an atmosphere where our children can nurture that natural talent which they already have, and allow them to explore, respond, invent, and make meaning of whatever they come across. So the processes need to be given more importance than the final product. And that should be that is the part of competency-based educational process. I should say that even in Gita, the same thing has been said. Karm kiye ja, phal ki ichha mat kar. That means karm is the process, phal is the end product. If the processes are perfect, the end product will be achieved. But if the focus is on the end product, maybe our focus from the process may shift and we may not be able to concentrate and work 100% on the process. So the processes should be given more significance than the end product. The National Education Policy 2020 has emphasized the need of learning outcomes for competency-based teaching, learning, and assessment at all stages of school education. And that is what we are going to discuss in today's presentation. While implementing CBE in our biology curriculum, we need to plan and transact our syllabus such that our methodology is part of mastery-based, performance-based, and proficiency-based high-quality education system. We can achieve this by adopting following measures. And these are the 5 measures we are going to discuss one by one. First is articulating measurable, transferable, and well-defined competencies through learning outcomes which empower our students. I hope the screen is, slides are visible to all the, fine. Learning outcomes emphasize competencies that include application, analysis, evaluation, creation of knowledge, along with developing important desired skills and dispositions. We talk of disposition because we talk of behavior also, and we talk of attitude also. Along with intellectual development, what is required is the attitudinal and behavioral improvement also. Engaging and motivating students to move forward for deep learning by doing mastery of the subject. Students receive timely, differentiated support based on their individual learning needs. This is very important. We do talk of it, but we probably are unable to practice that in the classroom. I'll give you a few tips how we can make it easy and implementable exercise where all children, when we give them any one topic and one way to work on it, like what we do in the lab, and we expect them all to perform. It's a very commonly used statement, one size fits all kind of a treatment we give. So we need how we can provide them need-based instructions. Assessment of competencies and content is meaningful and positive reinforcement or the learning experience for students. So we'll discuss these topics one by one. So first 2, which are related to learning outcome, we are going to, by giving example, I'll be discussing them and I'll take them together. ये क्या हो जाता है बेटी, देखो स्टॉप शेयरिंग क्यों हो जाता है? ये स्क्रीन शेयर, हाँ क्या हुआ?
Ma'am, we can see the screen.
But I can't see it. Stopped for me. Now it's okay. Let it, ये हो जाता है. ये क्यों हो रहा है? ये क्यों मुझे तंग कर रहा है? ये बंद करना चाहिए. Let it be there. I continue with my presentation.
Monica ma'am, I am sharing the forwarding this ma'am's PPT.
Yes, ma'am.
इसको डाउनलोड करो बेटा, ठीक
Yes,
है?
ma'am.
जहाँ नेक्स्ट अगर कुछ इशू होता है तो आप स्टार्ट कर दें, ठीक है?
Yeah, ma'am. Please.
मैम, इन केस यू गेट स्टक अप, वी आर रेडी विद दैट PPT.
Yeah. हाँ, ये पैनलिस्ट ये दो थे, hold on. Now share. Now is it okay? I'm sorry for this disturbance.
Perfectly okay, ma'am. You are at
Okay.
slide number 6.
Now I'm on 7. Now I'm going to
Alright.
7. So
Yeah.
friends, these are the general learning outcomes which are already framed by NCERT and they are available in public domain. This I have taken one simple example from class 11 biology curriculum. I'm not giving you details, but we can of course relate topics with these learning outcomes. I give you one example. It's like applies scientific terminology for organisms, processes and phenomenon internationally accepted conventions. Now, can we relate all the processes and phenomenon we study in biology to this learning outcome and learn how we can apply these scientific terminology to not only the organism and the process and phenomenon given in the book, but the ones which are outside the book also, which we may come across in our day-to-day life. So since because of the shortage of time, I will not be able to talk about it in detail, but you can retrieve these documents from public NCERT website. They are available. And many of us don't even know that such documents are available. Documents are available. The learning outcome, general learning outcome documents are available for all the classes. And you can have them from website of NCERT. So these are the list of learning outcomes for class 11th. And from these general learning outcomes, we can prepare specific learning outcomes. The general learning outcomes which are given here, they mainly talk of skills, the broad skills. Even within these broad skills, we can further add specific skills depending on what we want our children to learn. Now, when we plan and we try to understand what is that we expect our children to learn, it depends and it varies from teacher to teacher. A teacher who is very passionate about biology may want her children to learn many things beyond the box. Not only what is given in the book, but beyond the book, she would want her children to learn. And so she will frame her specific learning outcomes accordingly. I have tried to do that for the separation and isolation of DNA. This is one of the chapters of class 12. And the learning, the pre-content, content, post-content, they are given here. Based on that, learning outcomes are, general learning outcomes are picked up with the help of the skills which we have already taken from the NCERT document. And on the basis of these general learning outcomes, specific learning outcomes have been defined. These specific learning outcomes will help further enhance skills among our children. It depends on what all skills I want my children to learn. So as a biology teacher, we need to identify all that related to this topic my children can do. It is not only for the board exam, but also for the life outside the exam, outside the school, in real life. What is that my child should be able to understand besides what is given in the examples which are given in the concept is given definitely, but the examples are limited. You may talk about other topics. As a teacher, you have wide knowledge and you can incorporate. Have you read these specific learning outcomes where students can explain, can differentiate, can conceptualize the principle behind separation and isolation of DNA fragments? Can be a creative activity, right? So from understanding to creativity, what we see in Bloom's taxonomy, try to incorporate all the skills here in the learning outcome. If you give those skills, maybe from simple to complex, you start with understanding, knowledge, go to application, go to analysis, go to evaluation, and then you go to creativity. And have all the specific learning outcomes in one topic covering all these skills. Involve some activity which are hands-on, so you will involve kinesthetics also, skill related to kinesthetics also you will involve. And if you give group activities, then you are also helping your children to learn to work in collaboration. These are the social skills, very important, how very naturally they help improve disposition. We talked of the attitude and behavior of our children. So what are the activities teachers should plan? Teachers can organize a trip to research lab. We are fortunate here, but these days the colleges are there, the research labs, most of them are there at all the places except for very remote areas. Teacher will demonstrate technique of gel electrophoresis in the, maybe biology lab doesn't have the instrument for this experiment, but wherever schools have biotechnology along with the biology, they can use this. Or maybe you can take your children to the different college labs. There definitely you'll find it, and children will be able to actually see it happening. To make arrangement for experiment on, so teacher has to prepare for that, teachers do it. Teacher will explain the steps of the experiment, will demonstrate using peas or spinach, then will recapitulate through maybe using ICR, technology is important, and maybe a worksheet is prepared which is given to the students to take a feedback. And then accordingly, there'll be response from the student activity in terms of student activity, and then teachers will write her observation. So in very brief, I have given you the idea and step-by-step stages of a class which is full of engagement, where the teacher is keeping students engaged. Whenever we have to plan such lessons, I feel that a teacher works as unsung hero. Most of the teachers will have to work behind the screen. When you work behind the screen, your work is not visible to anybody. And what you do in front of the children, only that is visible. A third party may feel, what did you do? Everything children are doing. But the preparation required, which is not known, is all done by you. So I always call teachers as unsung heroes. Let us be like that. But that is our strength. And when we go prepared in front of the children, what children will learn, what they will enjoy in the class, I think that is what we expect. And probably that gives us the satisfaction, the happiness, and maybe fulfillment, what we probably look forward to. So planning and engaging class lesson, what are its components? Its components are choosing realistic goals. The goal should be realistic. If we talk something which children have neither seen nor heard, do you think they'll be able to imagine? Will they be able to enjoy that? They will not. Pick up exciting topics or learning contexts which are really exciting and children enjoy. Know your students' needs and talents and plan learning outcomes as per the student's talent. Why? Because my children's capacity is this much, and if I plan something beyond it, probably you will not be able to achieve your goals. So either we improve the level of our students' learning, and then we take it up, or we plan as per the need and talent of the students. Use a range of teaching approaches and methods. We are going to discuss about it in the next few slides, because it's important that the different teaching learning approaches, when given as an option to the children, they really feel relaxed. Why do they feel relaxed? Because they know that I have a choice and nothing has been forced upon me. And I can select something of what I enjoy, for which I have the passion. Select appealing resources and experiences that are relevant and linked to the children's lives and context. Why it is important? Because ultimately we have to prepare our children for life. And if we do not talk of life-related experiences and do not relate what you have learned in the school with the real life situations, probably children, when they face the challenge, they may feel, I have no idea how to use it, how to do that, how to find a solution to it. And when that happens, then all learning goes, I think, has no impact. What we have taught has probably not yielded the fruit. We feel that way. What we have taught, along with the concept, the skills are very important, which will help children find solution to the problems which they face in life. Then comes the fair assessment. When the fair assessment of the student is required to see what we have given or what children have achieved by working, by having hands-on or through experiential learning, have they been able to internalize it or not? That will help you to understand, and for any reason, if you feel that the goal has not been achieved fully, you know which areas are weak, and you can further refine or improve students' performance by providing remedial to those areas which you felt were weak. And then comes evaluation. Teacher has to evaluate her own performance also and see whatever method I have used, has it really helped children go a stage higher. So these are the steps of a lesson which you need to create and should be engaging. I have given here one example from a biology class 10th lesson, which is on heredity and evolution. It's a small topic of the entire lesson. This is not the entire lesson. Every topic needs to be worked on in detail. And if we work on it in detail, probably we'll be able to help our children understand the concepts. But if it is planned well by the teacher, I'll tell you, it will not take extra time. Many times we feel that when we have experiential learning and hands-on experiments, children will take more time. But if it is well-organized activity, children probably, I think the active children will internalize the concept, and it will take less time than what otherwise would have taken. So when we plan learning outcomes here for this activity, can you see the content of the entire activity is covered here? And along with that, the skills are also, the cognitive skills are there. All the cognitive skills of the Bloom's taxonomy are covered, from simple to complex, from knowledge to creativity, and even kinesthetics. If at all you want kinesthetics, you can have one of the activities in between. I'll show you that activity. And if you want the affective domain also to be covered here, then you can have it as collaborative activity. That part will also be taken care of. So all the skills, the thinking skills are covered here. And in between, if you want, you can always add life skills also. You can add other 21st century skills also. Use ICT here, right? Use different ways for children to communicate, provide that opportunity to children to use their communication skill. You can, incorporate anything and everything in your lesson. So this is the planning of learning outcome is very important, because if we do not plan our learning outcomes properly, probably will not be able to achieve the goal which we are supposed to be, that giving children skills along with the knowledge. And not only giving, but making every child achieve mastery, right? Competency-based education talks of mastery very often. Mastery means achieving that ultimate goal, and that too in totality. But when you provide certain opportunities where children discover knowledge, children create knowledge, if such opportunities are given, all the children will be able to perform. Then you take up the next stage, that is teacher activity. Here in this activity, the teacher is preparing 30 circles from the newspaper, 30 circles from the white sheet, and she puts them in the small Ziplocs and put these two pouches. I'll show you the kits. You must learn to prepare kits for all your topics and activities you plan. Kit should be prepared in such a way so that the classroom time is not wasted. If this kit has every Ziploc has two small Ziplocs inside having 30 circles from newspaper, 30 circles from a white sheet. With the punching machine, you can do it, a small forceps and one small petri dish along with a white sheet and one A4 size white sheet and A4 size newspaper sheet of the same size. That's all is required. And that is what is the teacher's activity. And then comes the student activity. This can be put up. Everybody has smart classes. When you put it on the board, the instructions are there in front of the children. And when these instructions are there, children can read it and follow. Teacher can also explain it, that two students will work together. One will act as a predator and will use forceps as the instrument to pick up the moth. The 30 circles, newspaper 30 circles will act as gray moth or black moth, and the white circles will be considered as white light moth. And then put these 60 circles on white sheet first and give just 50 seconds to the predator to pick them up. And then in the next stage, what you will do is you will provide this also on this observation table on the screen. Let children copy it. And it will say when the white background is, twice you give white background, twice you give newspaper background. And circles are already fixed, 30, 30. And you have the, one partner gives 15 seconds to the other partner who acts as a predator. And once you put white background and put the same circles, the predator will pick them up in 15 seconds and put them in the petri dish, and then you count and put number. Same thing can be done with the newspaper. And when it is repeated, a number which is filled in the last two columns will provide a pattern. Children will be able to see a pattern in this activity. And they will find that whenever white background was there, the moth which were picked up were, friends, can you tell me from where? How, which were more, which circles would be more and which circles would be less?
Please put it in the chat box.
But I can't see the chat box here.
Yes. We will answer, ma'am.
Okay. Against the white background, which moth will be captured more?
Prerna writes, black would be picked more, black, dark, newspaper circles, dark, dark, dark
Okay.
colored.
All my friends are very smart. Perfect. So you understand your children, you have not given this cue to your children, but they have identified a pattern So that is a natural learner's capacity they are exhibiting here. They will say against white, more number seems to be picked up is dark. Against newspaper, the number which were picked up more were white. This is what children will learn on their own. We are not saying anything. And this will somewhere help them to identify the concept of natural selection. Then we need to provide them with a worksheet. A worksheet should also not be something which is asking more about the knowledge and understanding. Worksheet, when you prepare the questions, you must ensure that every question reflects one of the learning outcomes, so that if all the cognitive skills are covered there, then your question should also cover all the cognitive skills. Let's look at the fifth question here. Which colored moth would be dominating the population after 3 generations? If this question is asked to the children, they can't find an answer from the book. They will be able to answer only if they have understood the concept here doing this activity. They might take 2 seconds to think, but definitely. Would you like to answer, friends? Which colored moth would be dominating the population after 3 generations? Let's first read the question 2. Here the situation is given. Which moth coloration is the best adaptation for a dark background? For a dark background. Best adaptation for a dark background, keeping that in mind, which colored moth would be dominating the population after 3 generations? Can you relate question 2 with 5th? The background is dark. So which colored moth would be adapted for this background? And if it happens so after 3 generations, which population will dominate?
Ma'am, answer is dark or black.
Right, absolutely right. 100% friends, because they will survive against the dark background. And if they survive because of the camouflage, because of the natural selection, they will continue to dominate as population. Wonderful friends. Idea here is that are we giving such opportunity to our children to create knowledge on their own, understand the topic on their own? This is one question again, which is also related to creativity, where looking at this table, you are giving a situation. This can be a case study type of a question, where you are giving a situation and you are asking children to answer. What happens to the population of light moths after 9 years and why? Now, children have to read this, they have to analyze the situation, and they have to interpret it. Can you tell me, friends? I'm expecting you to answer me for this class, question 6. Any answer coming?
Increased light color mode, says Poonam. Dark, Abhay Kumar says.
Right. So 50-50, can we say 50% say that light will increase and 50% say dark moth will? But here, the teacher who has talked about light moth increasing in number is correct, because we have not read here the topic properly. What is the heading says? The number of light moths captured. So if the captured number is decreasing, the population will increase. But what happens? The number of dark moths captured, if increases, their population will decrease. Idea here is, are we making our children think? If we give them such questions where we, rather than asking direct questions, give them little twisted questions, there is no harm in it. They will start thinking about it. And when they start thinking about it, they will apply their knowledge in different situations and the new ideas will occur to them. And that's how we can make them more creative. So friends, I go to, I think many of my friends would have attended my biology, CBSE training programs, that you might have seen this, but I feel this to be very simple, which is understood by everybody. So I give this example. So now this is the Dale's cone of experience, which says, how much do we remember? What are the situations when we learn more or when we learn less? So they say, when you read and you think that, yes, I remember everything, then what you are learning and what you remember is only 10%. When you hear, it is 20%. Likewise, let's go down and see, when you participate in hands-on workshop or design collaborative lessons, right? You remember 70%. But when you simulate, model, or experience a lesson where you are actually participating, like what we have done just now, where you are actually participating and you design or perform a presentation, do the real things, then you can remember 90%. And if we look at it skill-wise, then that's why, the low order thinking skills, they talk of understanding and knowledge, where comes defining, describing, even demonstration. When many times teachers feel demonstration is an activity-based learning, but it is not an active learning process. That's a passive for children, maybe active for the teacher, but not active for the children. So when the demonstration, children see the demonstration, then they apply and practice. Then also when they learn, and learning is not as good as when they themselves touch, feel, do it, make mistakes, redo it. Then they would be analyzing, they'll be creating, they'll be evaluating, and then what they learn is maximum. So there are many activities. Here I have given one activity, which is a BMI chart. We generally talk of health. Biology is related to health, and in different forms we talk about health in different classes. This is a simple activity every child can do and all the schools can do it. And let children do it. Let it be a project of the children, not of a teacher. Where this small blue colored slip is given to all the children. They will fill it up. They will fill up their height in centimeter and weight in kg by picking up their own medical card from the school health room. It is present and it is available. Let everybody know about it. Or maybe if they are going for their checkup, medical checkup, then they will know about it. Let them fill it up. Let them go out of the room, and this kind of BMI chart, this colored chart, can be put outside on the board, and let them identify that on the basis of the height in centimeter and weight in kg, they can identify their body metabolic index. And after knowing their body metabolic index, they can find out in which color they fall. And there is here the color chart is also there. Blue says underweight, green says healthy, yellow says overweight, orange says obese, and red says extra weight, heavy weight. Children can identify their health status themselves. Rather than telling anybody that you are underweight or you are overweight, it's good for children, because what they realize, we want them to understand, them to discover. Let them discover in which category they fall. And what is their health status, right? Maybe what senior children can, this is about all the children in the school they've identified, and then of course the health counselor, the medical counselor can conduct workshops for all the children without identifying, without dividing them for underweight or for the overweight children. And general talks, these children are also attending, they will identify what is that is required for themselves as per their health status. And senior children can collect this information. Of course, all this data is there in the school medical room. They can collect this information and can do a community health project, right? They can, do many things, which is not part of their chapter, but they will learn to contribute towards the society. I have written learning outcomes here. I'm sure you must have read them, that they will identify problems related to health in the community. They will design health information. They'll carry out health communication plan. They will plan health promotion programs. They can carry out research, form the hypothesis on the basis of what they have observed and what they have identified, and find possible solution and suggest those solutions to the community. There is another, I'm not going in detail for it, time is running short. So this is an activity which is performed by the students in the school on vitamin D. It's very interesting activity, and it was published in the International Conference of Young Scientists, and children had gone to Germany to present their topic. They got the bronze medal there. So activities, as I told you, it all depends on the passion of the teacher. What ma'am told in the beginning, that biology is a very interesting subject. We are fortunate to be part of this subject, biology teachers. And if we are passionate, we are interested, children will go out of the way to cooperate with you and participate, and you see how much they will learn. So we have done 3 parts out of 5. I go quickly to the 4th one, that is students receive timely differentiated support based on their individual learning needs. So what are the benefit of this? Benefit of this style is that those students who may have a different learning style will be able to get something of their choice and will be able to enjoy. Children are learning. Whether they're enjoying or not, they're learning. But now we want to see our children are enjoying, and they become passionate in what they are doing. People with normal IQs and with learning disabilities, these are also the cases where IQ is high. So you can't make out any problem, but children are unable to perform. So if we have such children, then people with normal IQs and with learning disabilities require education to be tailored to them to ensure that they get benefit of their full potential. So that is the idea why we need to tailor make our instructions, so that it is, nobody says it's one size fits all kind of trend we are following. Recognition of diverse learners. When educators can identify students with diverse learning styles, and sometimes they are very good also. See, when we talk of differentiated support, we don't talk of only weak children. We talk of those children who are gifted also. If we keep treating them with the average children, they might start losing their interest. So it's very important that we understand their needs and accordingly we plan. One of the ways is to provide them the group work. In the group work, it so happens that work is divided as per the potential of the child. Teacher understands all the children and she will divide the work according to the interest of the children. The other way is the teacher can also plan learning outcomes at various skill levels, at different skill levels. But the learning outcome will remain the same, only the approach will change. Presenting the same information in different ways. Students engage with the material in a way that aligns with their proficiency because you have provided them the opportunity. So they will work in the area which they feel they can do better and independently. Depending on the different level and readiness of the students, they learn the same material as the rest of the class in more accessible way. Teachers can also prepare and differentiate the rubrics. Now, once if you have kept the same learning outcome, same skill, but if you have provided different approach, then you must give children a rubric for all those different approaches which you have provided, so that every child gets to know that what is this child expected to do, and if the child does this way, what is that the child will achieve. As there is some problem with my sorry, there is some problem, I can't see my screen. Some things keep coming up.
Okay.
Can I put this on a slideshow?
Yes, you can, ma'am.
Can I do that? Okay. So to ensure students' engagement and mastery in the topic, provide an opportunity to engage them in different approach which are of their choice to learn the content. Students will be able to identify learning outcome. What we have given here is student will be able to identify the cause and effect of air pollution, and the skill here remains creative. That means all different approaches you may give, but neither the learning outcome will change nor the skill will change. So if a child is on the basis of their learning style, child is a reading and writing learner who learns by reading and writing, then the instruction which is given to the student is create a slogan on air pollution awareness, or imagine yourself in the forest and describe it when you spend there a day with respect to air. Actually, my screen is again gets hidden.
Shall we play the PPT, ma'am?
Okay, no, it's okay. I go back to my. So if they are visual learners, right? If they are visual learners, then teacher can give them instruction that prepare a graphical representation of the data which has been collected on causes and effect of the air pollution during a survey and display on the notice board. This survey has been done by kinesthetic leaders, and the results taken from them can be transferred into graphical representation by visual learner. So they are also learning. They are learning the cause and effect of air pollution through creative skill. Auditory learners, for them, organize a discussion to identify the causes and effect of air pollution in your town. So when you do that, it's a discussion, it's more of listening skills used here. They will enjoy doing it. And then kinesthetic learners conduct a survey of air pollution in different areas of your city and identify cause and effect of it, right? So you have given the same topic, you have not changed the skill, yet you have provided them an opportunity to participate through an approach which is of their choice. Your children will definitely enjoy doing it. Friends, any question from your side?
Kriti ma'am, is there any question with the group? WhatsApp group?
No, ma'am, not yet.
I request participants to kindly put the questions in the Q&A box. Ma'am, there is no question at the moment. You can proceed, please.
Okay, if there is any question, you can stop me.
Sure.
I'll answer these
Sure,
questions.
ma'am. Sure.
Right. Friends, you can write your answers, questions in the question answer box, or maybe in the chat box. We'll answer your questions. I told you, friends, that if we have given them different approaches, then it's our duty that if we have given them 4 choices, then we should have 4 different rubrics also. We should be put on the display board of the classroom so that every child knows what is expected, and on the basis of what is expected, the child will decide his or her performance. I have given here one example of, reading, writing. Of course, we keep doing it, but for creating suppose if a child has chosen who is a creative, art loving child, and he has decided, or maybe reading, writing skills, he's good in that, and he prefers writing a slogan. So he should know what all skills are going to be checked. So the skills will be craftsmanship, creativity, originality, grammar, and the descriptors are also written. If such details are given to the students, students can do their self-assessment. They will never come back to you asking, why, ma'am, I have not got marks. Many times children come back to us asking, why I have not got, he has got so much, I have not got this much, why did my half mark was cut? They ask. But they will not come, because they'll become expert when you start providing them rubric for everything you are asking them to do. They will do their own self-assessment. Now, friends, we go to the last one, that is assessment of competencies and content is meaningful and should be a positive learning experience for students. The educationist and the psychologist, they say that high quality assessment, curriculum and pedagogy are the golden triangle of any education system. And when these are made available to young people in an enabling environment, see, simply making available is not our role. We have to provide an enabling environment also. It has profound impact on learning outcomes. So we have to look that also. Competency-based assessment facilitates attainment of competencies in terms of learning outcomes in a holistic manner during teaching learning process. Our role would be complete if we involve all these things, we plan all these things in our lesson and activities. So, what are the objectives of our assessment? So one of the objectives of our assessment is to inform. The result from an assessment process should provide information that can be used to determine whether or not intended learning outcomes that faculty have set are being achieved. I told you, evaluation, how do we, teacher also has to evaluate and find out whether what I've planned, have I been able to achieve my goal. If one child gets 10 out of 10 and majority of the children get average and few children get low grade also, have we achieved our goal? We have not. So we must ensure that what is that we want to achieve, and depending on my expectation of achievement, my planning will be planned. The steps of my lesson will be planned. The information can then be used to determine how program can be improved. One is that. The other is that you identify the interest of the students through the assessment, and then it will help us to support the children, or it will help us to identify different approach to be used for that child. Rather than blaming or labeling a child, we'll probably provide them those different approaches which will really help child enjoy learning. The dropouts, or I can't do this, I want to give up this subject, many children talk about it. Let's find out reason behind it. Why children want to give up or leave those subjects. If they are given the way they can take it, you think they'll leave the subject? But many times it so happens that we feel, oh, it's a big number, how to deal with it? No, big number also, we can find solutions with large numbers also. These days we have ICT available with us. That will further help us find better solutions to reach out to large numbers. Even numbers is no more barrier. I feel so. Of course, small number in the classroom is always good, but the large number also can be dealt using technology. Now, when we design or create specific assessment or assessment sheet, that means a test paper, maybe for classroom, maybe for term, whichever exam you are going to plan, you are planning for. So, teacher may design or create specific assessment objectives. Now, I'm using a new term here that is called as assessment objective. And I have used it here in this chart also. Curriculum we all get, which experts make it depending on the age of the children, biological age, and what they can take. And from there, the curriculum expectations, curricular expectations are planned. Depending on the curricular expectation, we plan our learning outcomes. Right? Learning outcomes, or you may call them as learning. We are no more using learning objectives, but that's more in our thought process. So why did we always thought of learning objectives? Because we wanted to understand this is what at the end of the chapter should be done. Now we have made it more child-centric and we call it as learning outcomes. So even when we plan our assessment and we prepare assessment items, do we plan our specific assessment objectives? We must plan our specific assessment objectives so that the skills, all the skills turn by turn are tested and the learning content or the knowledge is also tested, right? To ensure that none of them are missed out. Many times it so happens, it's possible to assess different skills. Suppose a fifth question of my test paper is a creativity related question. Then if we post our marks question wise and then survey or may calculate what is the output in question 5. Suppose it's 20 children are there and question 5 is 2 marks question, and if total is 40 and everybody has got and total comes to be 40 out of 40, I can say, oh, my children are doing very well in creativity. But if my children are not out of 40, if I get 15 or 17 score, then I can understand my class children need to be given more inputs in creative questions, creativity. So next time what you will do, you'll give a better activity in the classroom. You'll give them questions in the class worksheet which are based more on creativity, because you need to emphasize more on creativity. So now when you prepare a class test paper, your specific assessment objective would be to have more weightage to creativity. And that's how we can create a balance among the children. Whatever is weak can be emphasized, can be identified, and then given importance. And then ultimately, based on those objectives which we have planned, you can create the assessment item. Item means questions. Now let's go quickly about while creating unit-specific assessment objectives, teacher must assess a more significant proportion of higher order thinking skills, such as analysis and evaluation, including creativity. Reduce the proportion of assessment on recall and knowledge. Increase the assessment of fundamental skills in real-world context. Like this activity, if teacher is doing what we have done just now, if the teacher is doing that activity, you are trying to relate children with the real life situation. Am I right? Children are themselves finding solution to the problem because they have seen it, they have observed it. Use authentic source materials and scenarios. Use more diagrams and other visual materials. Use more structured questions which link together to vary the demand throughout the assessment, right? As we had different approaches, then you should have different questions also. Use language which is accessible to all levels of student ability. Use a limited range of command words consistently. Use improved level of response and point-based mark schemes. marking scheme should be also, because you are putting rubrics. So they are very clear. Children should be very clear about what they evaluate when they evaluate themselves. So the marking scheme which you create through rubric should be very, very point based. Command words are these. These are the words which you can use for this kind of information. And once you use, they say you must use it more frequently, rather than simply writing a language and say that, give your informed opinion about. You can write comment, right? But it won't happen in when you use it once or twice. It will happen when you frequently use it. And then, of course, you can classify these command words. These are the list of some of the command words. You can use these command words and classify them on the basis of cognitive skills of Bloom's taxonomy, and use them appropriately depending on what weightage is required to be given. So now we are working on how to prepare the the question items. So while preparing the questions and the assessment items, let's start working on what I have already told you. General learning outcome you have taken from what the NCERT has given. It says will be able to relate processes and phenomena with causes. Now you are coming down to the environment. Maybe it's a question based on environment. So you say that my specific learning outcome would be that the student will be able to interpret the data, the observations, and will be able to record during the records which child has collected during the activity, experiments, surveys, field trips, etc. So that capacity child should develop. That is your specific, and now you give an item. This is the item you have created. This has been taken from a newspaper, e-newspaper, of course, otherwise newspapers are black and white. This is an electronic, because these days you don't get the newspaper, you see the electronic newspaper. So beautifully this colored news came, and it is also a graph given here. Either you can use the picture or you can use graph. Idea here showing you this is that there is so much of information available in journals, in magazines, in newspaper, the news magazines. You go, media is full of different information, to capture your attention. But whenever you come across anything, just capture that. It's easy to capture it, keep it with you to create case-based questions. Also, these case-based questions will help children apply their knowledge in different ways and help children develop the skills which are required to. Here, the questions which are given, you can read it. Important here for us, it is important to learn that how we create questions, the assessment items. Here, there is another question which is also a case-based. Situation is given and the question is also given. So what is its general learning outcome? It comes from organisms and population. The general learning outcome is student will be able to connect biological concepts to the real life problems. Now, specific learning outcome should be able to interpret, or identify the existing relationship between different populations and conclude in terms of its impact on resources available and population size, because you want to assess this area of your chapter. So you create this question. Now this you might have taken, this information you might have taken from any research data. And you have created this question, this graph, and you are asking children that suggest reason for the difference in numbers of all the three species between the areas where oyster catchers were present and where oyster catchers were excluded. Now, child will be able to apply his conceptual knowledge, what he has learned in the class in a different situation. But we'll have to apply, we'll have to relate may have to create a link between the two different definitions he has learned. So many skills are involved here. Now, friends, here, if you need to prepare a blueprint to understand that your question type, the skill, the question type, because we have varieties of questions in our paper. We have 1 mark question, which may be MCQ, which may be a 1-line answer. So you can have 2 very short answer type columns. Then you have 2 mark question, you have 3 mark question, and you have long answer. So we have taken here question types, right? And also units in the vertical line, and in horizontal we have question type, and also these question type are further divided into skills. Can you see? The skills are also covered here. In the first column, you have knowledge and understanding, which is 50%, application of knowledge, which is 30%, and analyze, evaluate, and creativity is 20%. This is what currently CBSE is saying. Maybe because it's pandemic, so they have given less weightage to higher order thinking skills. It may keep changing, and the information always is given to you. So you can change the percentage as per, and then you can frame the questions. And practicals, I'm sure you all are familiar with. Now you'll have practical in every term, 15 marks for the first term, 15 marks for the second term. These informations have already reached you, and you all are familiar, so I need not say anything extra about it. Now, any question, friends?
I think you have explained so beautifully. I mean, till date, although we are overshooting time, still the participants are here and they are glued to the screen. That's really, really commendable, ma'am.
Yes,
And
their love for the subject, I don't know how good I was, but their love for the subject kept them glued.
no, I differ here. I mean, your way of explanation, we being the non-science teachers, still we are enjoying, and it's really, really very, and the chat box is full of the appreciation for the session, although there isn't any question. If there will be any question in the WhatsApp group later, we will forward it to you.
Sure,
Right.
ma'am. That's
So-
my pleasure. I really love talking to all the
Bio-
teachers, of course.
Yeah, especially by
my biology teachers.
yeah, thank you. The session is very engaging, informative. Thank you so much. The chat box is just filling with the wonderful remarks. So we are already overshooting time. I'll not take more. Thank you so much, Neeta ma'am, for
Don't say
accepting.
that. That's my duty. I take it as my duty. I take it as my
really.
love for my friends.
Really, really thankful. So I'll request Kriti ma'am to please propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. As Vivekanandji rightly said, see the highest, aim for that highest, and you shall reach the highest. On behalf of Samurja Educational Society, a very hearty gratitude to our key speaker, respected Neeta Rastogi ma'am, for sharing her knowledge with us in today's episode. We have been fortunate to have of the renowned identity from the academics. I thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. I thank our leaders, Dr. Rajesh Hasija sir, Dr. Ashok Pandey sir, and Dr. Harish Chaudhary sir for being there in leading supervision and inspiring us at every point. Thanks to our Vice President of Samurja Educational Society, Dr. Mukta Mishra ma'am, for her full-fledged efforts. She is the pillar of the show of strong unity. A special thanks to Samurja Educational Team and Ms. Monica Khanduja ma'am for working hard round the clock for the success of this episode. I'm thankful to all the participants for coming live and attending this episode on biology. Once again, thanks a lot everyone and namaskar.
Thank you, ma'am. Namaskar.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Thank you, Kriti, and thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you, Monica, for being here. And basically, you have done a lot of work, isn't it? Besides ma'am. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'm sorry for the gaps in between, you know.
No, we thoroughly enjoyed. Thoroughly, ma'am.
My viral, that is what they call it as antivirus, has expired. So the advertisements are coming again and again to install antivirus software.
Okay.
And that is
Okay,
what was
that's
disturbing me. Now, how to stop that?
good. You can't do that.
I guide me.
That you can't do.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I go?
Yes, ma'am.